Hi everybody, and welcome to episode 118 of the I Rock Knits podcast. This is one tired puppy mama. I'm going to do this in bits and pieces, snippets. We drove 5 hours yesterday to Beloit, Wisconsin through a snowstorm in Madison that was put tons of cars and semi-trucks in the ditch. Before we hit it, it was clearing up. By the time we were going through, the roads were better, but we saw, it was just incredible. So we picked up our puppy in not ideal conditions in a parking lot of a hotel with snow and puddles, and he has not seen snow, and he was not a happy camper. As soon as they opened the back end of the car, and they took his litter mate out of the other crate, he was screaming, he was just howling and barking and mad, and she said he has not been happy being in the crate. And then we set him down and he just wanted to be all over my shoes. So he had wet, dirty feet, he did not like the snow, and so finally we just put him in the car. I held him and we took off, and about 20 minutes later we pulled over and tried to find some grass, and he got settled down, but his little heart was just beating. You know, it's like they get kidnapped, right? They get kidnapped and they're being held, and they don't know who their kidnappers are, and the kidnappers not have given them a place to go to the bathroom. And they don't know if they're nice, and they don't know if they're going to get fed, and his little heart was just a beating. And so we had a very long night. It was, we drove 5 hours back home, stopped numerous times, got back here, and he would go to the potty, but they hadn't fed him because they didn't want him to throw up. So we fed him, and he threw up in the crate, and then he ate it, which is, typical. We had him in the crate for a little while, and then he settled down, then he slept. I sat in the back seat, and we pulled the crate forward with the seat down so he could see us, and it did get better. But then we got home, and we're introducing him to a new house, new smells, a new mudroom where he's going to spend his time, and a playpen that he did not like at all. So he almost jumped out of it. He almost climbed the sides of this little plastic. I'll show you all pictures, but yeah. So we woke up to a poopy crate this morning. This is how you're getting me today. I do have on a dog shirt, but I am absolutely exhausted. So I stayed up with him as late as I could, although we had gotten up really early yesterday morning, and I'm not used to that. So I was tired, and he is loud. He cried and barked and was not a happy camper. And then he went to sleep, and then he woke up, and Ross got up and took him out, and then he barked again, and we got up and took him out. And then when Ross got up this morning, he fed him, and then he seemed like he wanted to go back to sleep, so Ross put him in the crate, and then that's when we had the poop explosion. So he's covered head to toe poop. So he's had a bath, which exhausted him, and the crate has been completely cleaned, which we have a sink in our garage, a dog bath sink, a basin, shower basin, so we can take it out there. He's been in and out. He's getting used to the snow in the backyard. We do have some grass showing, and he will go every time we take him out. He has slept in Mama's arms twice for an hour, and I cannot sit on the mudroom floor, which is tile, and get up because I can't kneel on my 2 knee replacements and my hip. I have really struggled to get up off the floor. And so getting up and down and sitting in the car yesterday, my hip was screaming last night, and we're doing better today. He's much calmer today. He's happier as long as he can see us in the kitchen. He can stay back there. He does jump on the gate quite a bit, and we're afraid he's gonna get hurt, and you can't leave him for half an hour because they gotta go out again. So if you've never had a puppy, or if you've forgotten, let me just remind you, it's almost as much as having a baby, because A baby can pee in their diaper and you can change it in 5 minutes, or poop in their diaper and then you can change it. But if puppy poops and pees, then you got to clean up, and if you have, you know, a blanket back there or a towel or toy, it's a mess. So we are pooped. This is going to be in little snippets. Kylie and Stevie are coming over today to meet him, hopefully wear him out, and then he'll sleep, and then I'll record again, and then I'll record again. But I'm going to introduce him to you now. This is little Chevy, and he was almost like he was going to fall asleep back there. And I'd only left him for the 2 minutes that I came in here. So now he's very quiet, and this has been very uncommon. He's just sleepy. He's right on the verge. Aren't you? Yeah, he's been wild. He jumps and leaps and twists and pounces and bites my leggings and bites my hands, and his teeth are razor sharp. So now it's your first time on camera, and you're just doing an amazing job. Yes. So this is how big he is. Can you stand up for Mom? Here, go. I know it's a little slippery. Whoops. So can you see how big he is? There. So he's a big boy. Look at his giant paws. Do you see how big he's gonna be? Oh my goodness. His paws are huge, but look at this. He has pink and black pads. So cute. Oh, he's just being such a love. So Mama might have to go sit with him. Dad just went to take a nap. And I said, I'll record 5 minutes and I'll see how we do. So this is Chevy, and he is getting much calmer. He's understanding the backyard. He has a little white spot right here, which is really cute, and little brown spots over his eyes. Yeah. Were you gonna sleep because you had little lunch? He had his little lunch, and I didn't know he was gonna fall asleep. I thought we were gonna play here, but I guess I will go hold him, and I'll talk to you guys in a few minutes, okay? Okay, things I've learned in the last 2 hours as a new puppy mama. Wear hard pants. Sharp teeth and leggings or soft fabrics or pajamas do not go well, because when sharp puppy teeth get caught, and he has a stronger bite grip than your hands are to pry it open, you will get holes in your clothing. Number 2, sleep when the puppy sleeps. We're taking short cat naps. Husband rested a little, I rested a little. Number 3, invite everyone over to play with the puppy. So if you are a Minneapolis-based friend, I am giving you an invitation. Kylie and Stevie were here. We played outside. He pooped and peed outside. It was lovely. They played on the floor with him in the mudroom. They sat on the floor and played with his toys. They held him. And then he had the longest nap he's taken, which was lovely, because I just held him in the recliner, and then he stretched out in front of me and just slept for like an hour. And we were all just... And Kylie kept saying, he's so cute. And I'm like, this is the longest that he's remained still. So I'm learning and learning. Like I said, this will be intermittent here, but quickly he is in the mudroom. He just had a little toy time with the toy that provided a treat. We're helping him learn how to do it. So we're thinking that he will play by himself for a couple minutes. We'll see. I featured 5 patterns this week, and it was the Christina Cowl and Hat, which are the ones with the beads on them that many of you know about, but if you're new here, you might not have ever seen those before. The Churchill Ave Hat and Mittens, so those were actually relatively new as well. So they haven't, they're not older patterns of mine. And then probably one of the older ones that I have is the Coddiewomple Cowl, which is quite a popular pattern. People really like to knit that up in all different weights of yarn. It is just a 2-row repeat. There's no ribbing at the top or bottom. It has just a little wavy edge. Goes really quickly, so I did feature those this week, but I told you all I'm wearing one of my Love is Good shirts with all the puppies on it today, and so far we have no holes in it, so that's great. It is bright. What is the sweater of the week this week? I finished a sweater. So I have been trying to finish up my sweater whips in the last few weeks and kind of get them off the needles. Several of them I have not a lot left to knit. This is an Aran weight yarn made with scrap yarn. So this was all leftover Ella Rae Chunky, Superwash Chunky, which is no longer available, but it is because it was discontinued. But you can still find it out there on Ravelry and in some yarn stores in the back sale bins. It is wonderful, lovely yarn. And I picked a few colors to knit it up in. It's still bright and colorful, but it's those jewel tones, and I do really like those. I put up a poll on Instagram asking people if I should do the button bands in the blue, the gold, the green, or the maroon. And everyone voted blue, which is great, except when I went, I only had one skein of blue left, not two, and I had two of everything else. And so I was afraid that after picking up the neck, doing the button bands, the bottom and both cuffs, that one skein probably would have done it, but I wasn't absolutely sure. And I wasn't sure if I had used part of that skein. I didn't weigh it, but I had opened all the skeins and been using them. And so I just went with red. It was the second choice for everyone. I like red a little bit better, and so I just went with the red. I sewed on some buttons and I made the buttonholes. I will try to take a close-up picture. These have a little maroon dot in the middle, so they were just perfect. It's fitting on the mannequin quite well. I did make it shorter, a little bit shorter than what I would normally make a cardigan. I would want it to hang down kind of mid rear end, but it did grow. So I was hoping that it would turn out a little bit shorter, and I did cuff the sleeves. So they are cuffed, but this is just a top-down raglan pattern. I think I used cast-on numbers for Knitting Pure and Simple, but I know how to do a raglan shaping every other row. And can you hear the little quiet murmurs that are coming from the mudroom? He can hear me talk, but Dad is sitting at the kitchen counter right there, kind of keeping an eye on him, and so he's fine. But I can hear these little murmurs back there. And he did just have a really long nap, but we went outside and played a little. So, and then we did the little toy. I'm hoping that I can get through this with like not a lot of howling and barking. But yeah, so I don't have a, like, there's not a name for this sweater. I'm not sure why I decided to put in the rows of dark brown. So there's one row of dark brown right here and one row of dark brown. I think I thought that maybe I would use more brown, but I just repeated the whole repeat once I got it going. So it's 4 2 2 6 2 4 4 2 4 2 1. You know, I just kind of made kind of a random striping pattern and then repeated it once I got. So I did list that on the pattern page of what the striping I did was, and yeah, I'm super happy to have it done. It was on the needles in 2014. Which is crazy because, so I originally cast it on as a pullover, and everything I have is a pullover. And I think I got, you know, a little bit down, and I thought, why are you not making this a cardigan? Well, you could just steek it. So then I think I ripped it back and added some bulk to the front, but I was changing colors in the front, and then you have all these ends, right? And steeking with all those ends and bulk, once you sew them down, I wasn't really sure about folding the edges back. So then I just decided, I don't hate purling. Why don't I just work back and forth, right? I'll just work back and forth. I can weave in the ends as I go, and I'll see how that works. So then I started over, and in between these times, it got put back in a bag. I would put it back in the closet because I probably had 12 colors of leftovers, but I only was gonna use like 6. But they were all in this giant bag. And so I needed to like sort it out and take out, like, I had a yellow and I had a lavender, and that just wouldn't, you know, go with that. And I had like a tangerine, and I do have those left. And now I'm thinking I might make a short cropped, like color blocked. I might make like the front orange and the back lavender, and one sleeve one color and one sleeve the other color. Do a set in like short sleeved, but it's Aran weight, so, or bulky, no, it's more bulky weight, so that's not good for short sleeves. Anyway, so I still have more. I have more of this yarn left over, and I still have a sweaters quantity in red, I think, and a sweaters quantity in brown, in a lighter weight, I think. So
anyway, so happy to have it off the needles. And then I went and dug out another cardigan, and guess what? It's a striped cardigan. It's my tweed one that had the really weird shoulder shaping that I was struggling with, that Stacy helped me with. So I was shocked because I was like, you have 2 striped cardigans that you gave up on, like you just kind of put away. So I think I do slow down on the purl back rows and so they're not as fast for me, something like that. And then I got out my shift cowl because this is, you know, been around for a while, but the shift shawl and the shift cardigan, and now there's the new shifty sweater, and there's, you know, she has a new cowl pattern out, Andrea Mowry, but I don't think I've ever shown this on the podcast, and it is made using the kind of twisted barber pole yarn from Spin Cycle. I bought some of that when I was in Virginia Beach a few years ago. This is knit kind of as a angled piece, and then you seam it together in the back. And so it's a bigger piece. It's not really a shawl, so I can't really call it the shawl of the week, but we'll call it the cowl of the week, and we'll be good. I did do it in the kind of the oranges, reds, pinks, and then the blues. I can hold it up. Seen it. It's a slip stitch pattern, so you work sections of color, and then you repeat the sections, and you can swap your colors out, A to B, B to C, A to C, yeah, and then you seam it up the back like that, and then it's off, the point is kind of offset. Yeah, so that turned out kind of fun. I am not a huge cowl wearer because I wear sweaters all the time. So putting a cowl on top of a sweater can just be like knitwear on knitwear. That can just seem like a little much. So yeah, I don't wear my cowls all that often. I should just put them back in the closet by my coats and put them on every time, because I always put a scarf on with the coat. I have several scarves, and I always put my scarves on with a coat. But so yeah, there you go. I finished 2 things this week. Some of you will have seen them or seen one of them already. I made some of my Knitwords sachets, my little pillows with the words on them, the little pillow. So the book has the big pillow in it. There's a little bit of confusion about the pillow pattern, and the little pillow is a little sachet. So if you're going to go out and get it, that Knitwords sachet pillow is not from the book. And that was not one pattern. The sachets have 11 different quotes. I will custom make a quote for you, but I made one up for some of my favorite podcasters. I'm still working on a couple more, so they'll be going in the mail, but I got one in the mail to the Needles at the Ready guys this week, Kevin and Ray, and they had it sitting on their shelf, and I shipped one out to Tracy and Jody this week of the Grocery Girls, so they could put one, because they have shelves behind them, and I am making one well, I shouldn't tell. I'm making a couple more, you know, just podcasters that I appreciate and enjoy, and really honor the time and energy that they put in, especially people who are long-term podcasters. People who've been around for a while, like for a long time, and are still out there putting out the time and energy. So I'll be making more of those up for people and sending them out over the next few months, but I did get 2 of those done. I made blueberry French toast, and that recipe was in the recipe thread of the IROCKNITTERS group, so I'm not really doing recipes too much anymore, but I had purchased all the stuff to make blueberry French toast for when I was having everyone come for the weekend for sweater camp. And then we canceled it because I had COVID and no one came. And so I had 4 tubs of cream cheese and 6 big loaves of bread. I had French bread, and then I had gluten-free bread because there was another friend that was coming that was gluten-free. And so I cut up the bread and took the crust off and diced that up. And I made a half of a batch, which I'd never done before, where you just put all your bread cubes in so it's kind of like an egg bake, but it really is French toast. It's not eggy, not like a traditional egg bake with like meat and vegetables and cheese in it. This is very bread heavy. And then you dice up cream cheese and you plop it around, then you pour a cup of blueberries over the top. And then you mix up like 6 eggs and a cup of milk and some maple syrup. And then you pour that over and set it in your refrigerator overnight, and then you bake it in the morning. Well, I have enough to bake that for the next, whoever comes to the house. Well, no one's coming. So I made it for Ross and I last weekend. He doesn't love it because he thinks it's too sweet. He's not a sweet fan. But then you boil blueberries to make a blueberry compote to put on top. So you put some sugar and some baking soda, I think, in a pan. And you just boil down some blueberries for like 20 minutes, and that's your syrup. It was delicious. It was so good. You get up in the morning, you take it out, you let it sit for half an hour, and then you put it in the oven. So good. And it just reminded me. So that's part of my gluten-free journey this week. Did go in and have a doctor's appointment, talk to her about my weight loss journey and how I've been really unsuccessful at losing any weight. And I'm carrying it all in my midsection, in my low belly. That part of it is hormonal. Some of it is my gut biome is very off. I have a very bad irritable bowel. And so we talked about that. So she has some suggestions for things moving forward. I also had to talk to her about my jaw. I'm having some real trouble with my jaw. I woke up one morning and it was off. My bite was off. And so the top of my jaw is over to the right. And so I can tell because I have teeth here that are meeting that I've never met before. And so I'm biting my lip. I've probably told this story before, but many years ago, I got up in the night and I fell in the bathroom. I passed out, I got dizzy, whatever, and I fell, and my two front teeth hit the windowsill and went through my lip right here, hit the windowsill, and then I fell backwards and hit the back of my head. So it's like 2 a.m, and I wake up my husband and I'm bleeding from the face and the back. And I've never had high blood pressure or dizzy spells before or anything like that, but I went into the ER and they had to stitch this, and I didn't have a plastic surgeon do it, I don't think. And so I have a scar there, and it's very visible if I go like this. But because of that, now you'll all notice for the rest of my days, that this little part of my lip hangs down a little bit further. Well, now that my jaw is off, this lip is curling and I'm biting it all the time. I'm biting it with this tooth, and now I have a sore. So I went in to see her, the doctor, for that, and talked about both things. Because I went to the chiropractor and he won't like crack my back and adjust my neck because my neck is so bad from gymnastics and anything. He said, don't ever let anyone do a manipulation of your neck. But he, did massage and he pulled and stretched and just tried to push. And I got really sore. I put his finger in my mouth with a glove on and tried to get it loosened up. And it got worse. It was much worse the days following that. So then I went back in again on Friday and saw his son. I have an office together, and he did kind of the same thing, and it's much better. It's not gone, it's still off, but the doctor is sending me to a jaw and facial pain clinic, but I can't get in for another week. And so anyway, so now I'm biting my lip and my jaw, and I got all this stuff going on always. It's always something for me. Okay, let's talk quickly about a peek behind the curtains. What have I been designing lately? All 5 blanket samples are back. I got the last one back yesterday. It is blocking on the family room floor. I'm so excited about these blankets, you guys. They are amazing. Simple textured stitch patterns, chunky, bulky yarn, knit picks, price point, low cost, interesting textured borders. So not garter stitch and not seed stitch borders. I tried to find borders that were fun, something different. Not that you couldn't put a ribbing or a garter on these borders if you preferred, but I made fun borders with an easy textured. So if you need last minute gifts, they each will come in 5 sizes from baby through adult, extra large. They'll all be sized for 5 sizes, and there'll be 5 blankets. I have asked the Knit Picks Independent Designer Program to sponsor this collection, and they have said, yes, we want to see it. So I will be sending them the information tomorrow, if I have time. They want to see it as a collection, because I just sent them the prototypes. But I did use their yarn, and so we're going to see about moving forward with that, and whether I have to see what is in it for me on their end. Like, I don't know what they provide their designers with.
I was hoping for yarn support, but I had already purchased all the yarn, so that's like in hindsight. So we'll see, but I should have 5 blanket patterns coming out. And then I don't know that the hood is gonna come out because my photographer took the hoods to take a picture on a niece, and the niece hated the hoods, did not want them on her head. She's not quite 2, and it did not go well. She said, I don't think I have a single picture that you can use, because she was so unhappy with the hoods on her head. So I have no child photo, and that's what we were waiting for. And now I have to find a different child or wait. My photographer's gone for a week, and then we could try again. And then by that time, the hood is past its prime for winter season here in America, in North America. So I may just wait and put it out in the fall. I'll see. We'll just see what's happening with that. But that's what I've been designing lately. I do have a new collaboration coming up, so I'm going to get working on that next. That's my next thing to cast on. But now with the puppy, I don't have that collaboration commitment until fall, and that was a good choice because I do have my shoulder replacement coming. However, they called this week and would like to move it up by a month, and I said that is not possible. So they wanted to move it from June 8th to May 7th, and I was like, cannot do it. I'm teaching in May. My husband goes spring fishing in May. We go up to the lake in Memorial Day. We have all these commitments already. And she said, well, your doctor's leaving. He can't do the surgery in June. She said, but there will be a new resident coming in that has been working with him, graduating from the U. And I was like, do you want to be the, I mean, that's terrible, but do I want to be the resident's first patient? And so I said, is there anything later in May? Because I've been with this doctor for a long time with my shoulder, and he does have a partner. And she said, well, maybe May 31st. Well, that's much better. That's only like 8 days early, right? Like, it's not great, but maybe we can make that work. So she's going to get back to me. I see him on the 18th of April to make a commitment and talk to him about the shoulder and all of that. It's just such a huge surgery. I just feel like I should put it off longer, but I'm not. I don't sleep well with my shoulder. It does okay during the day, but then at night I'm awake. I toss and turn a lot, so we have to decide. Anyway, I will be putting in a video for styling a shawl. I think every other podcast, I'll see if I put one in here, but every Sunday I will be posting a picture of styling a shawl on Instagram. So you can be watching for that. If you don't already follow me on Instagram, I would really appreciate the follow. And I would really appreciate it if you would hit the subscribe button here. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. If you could give me a thumbs up or a subscribe down below, or even better, tell a friend about a podcast. And I have people all the time who say, oh, I don't watch podcasts. You don't have to watch them all. You can still subscribe. That really helps move people up to find the content that you're putting out. So that would be greatly appreciated. All right, what have I been watching? Okay, I watched a show, a movie, and a couple of shows on Netflix. So I watched Outlast, which was a bunch of people going to the Canadian wilderness to try to outlast one another. It was very good. I really enjoy those survival type shows. And then for some reason, I got a suggestion for this these two YouTube girls. They're called Vanwives, and they have been living in a van for 3 years and traveling the country. And it is fascinating to me. They're probably 28-ish, 29, 28, 29, 27, 28. And they're from Canada, and they
met while they were waitressing, and they've been together for quite a while. And they decided to live in the van. So they gave up apartments and they moved into this van for a year. And they rebuilt the van on the inside to make it a van that they could live in. And then they took off and they planned this trip to go all the way from Canada to Argentina, driving in this van with 2 Australian Shepherds. Can you imagine? So they wired the whole thing. They have a solar shower. And it has been fascinating to follow them. So they got all the way down to Ecuador. No, where did they go? Shoot. And they got stuck because of COVID. And they couldn't, the borders were closing and they didn't know if they could get home. They had to drive all the way back to the East Coast, over by the East Coast of Canada. I mean, it was hours and hours of driving, and they had to cross the borders by a certain time in order to make it. It was watching them. So they have about a half an hour to 40-minute YouTube show that they put out every Sunday morning at 9:30. And I've gone back now and watched, and they're on beaches, they go to Puerto Rico, they take the dogs everywhere, they hike, and they want to do it all themselves. But the biggest thing that they've just done is they bought 40 acres of land on Nova Scotia, sight unseen, with a cabin on it, because they got a deal. And then they couldn't go see it for 4 months because of the COVID. They had locked down the borders again in Canada, and they couldn't go see it. So then they finally get to go see it, and it's 26-year-old overgrown cabin in the woods at an hour or 2 from the nearest town, and they want to learn how to live off grid. So if you are interested in anything like that, I really think you would like these 2 gals. Their names are Crystal and Jazz, and they are just go-getters. They're willing to learn and try everything and make mistakes and show the mistakes that they're making. It has just been so enjoyable to watch while I've been knitting on this sweater the last week. I've just been watching them kind of in a row late at night, and I'm just astounded by the things that they have done, that they built out stuff, and and they live plant-based. They eat plant-based, so they show what they eat and what they cook, and they don't like to eat out or spend money on things. They have a shared wardrobe because they're about the same size. The dogs go everywhere. It's just been, they bought a Sprinter van, and they had to learn how to maintain it because if they get stuck somewhere, so they have to have extra parts along. It's just really, they're just really inspiring. And I think they have a huge following now. When they started, the first few episodes, you could see that they didn't know what they were doing. But now they have video equipment, and that they do a great job. Very interesting. So yeah, I would highly recommend that. Then there are a couple new podcasts. I had someone reach out, so I thought, I haven't shared a podcast for a while, what you're watching. So the Clarity Fiber Arts is a new podcast, so you might want to check that out. And she is a viewer here, and so it's not a real new podcast, like not one episode, but newer. And then there's a Junction Fiber Mill podcast that I had never watched, so you might want to check out those podcasts, Clarity Fiber Arts and Junction Fiber Mill. I was out searching on the internet for something the other day, Googling around, and I found a list of knitting retreats and events. And I have often have people ask me, where do you find out about these retreats and these events, where you want to go to? And this is at the website knitlikegranny.com/events, and it's a list of events worldwide in order of month. Fascinating. She did a really good job. I looked up a couple of things that I've been to, and they're on that list. So I would highly recommend, if you are looking for an event or a retreat to go to, or if you know of one that's not on the list, she will take it and add it. So yeah, some of you don't know where to find my D-Stash page, and I found that really interesting because I just assumed that people know where to find the things that I'm getting rid of, but they didn't. So you go to my Ravelry profile page and you go to my stash. And when you get to my stash, you'll see everything that's in my stash. And then at the top, there are tabs, and there is a place that said will, buy, or sell. And that's where my things are. So if you put your stash in, you have the option in that moment to switch it over immediately and say, willing to trade or sell. It says willing to trade or sell right there. And then you have a destash page. So you don't have to do anything else that's special. You just go to someone's stash page or your own, and you can open up your stash, and then you can change the tab over on the right to be something that you are willing to get rid of as well. And then it will show up when people are searching for yarn as an option that you would be willing to trade or sell it. Okay, so that's where it's at. Right now, the Knitwords pillow is on sale through March 31st for just $3. You get it for $3. It's $4 off using the code PILLOW. So if you've not picked up the Knitwords Pillow Sachet, that's the little one that has all the sayings on it. And there are 11 different sayings. So there's knit on and love my stash and yarn bestie, but there's also tooth fairy and shh baby asleep. And I will also make one for you if you would prefer me to make a custom chart for you if you want to do your Ravelry name or a name of a grandchild or a last name of a family. But those are on sale. And then I got contacted by a publishing company to ask me to give away a book. And this is from Page Street Publishing. And I said, well, I would be happy to do an Instagram post and to talk about it on my podcast, but I'm not a huge lace knitter. Lace is not my favorite thing to knit, and so I am really a color work girl, and I would be happy to have you give me a copy, but I will give it away because I probably won't use it like someone else would use it. So I'll be giving this away as part of this week's giveaway, and if you would like to receive this, then all you have to do is answer the Ravelry question of the week, and that is to comment, what is your favorite all-time meal? What if someone asked you, what do you want me to make, what would you say? Like, what's your birthday meal, or what's the meal that you like to have best? For me, it's Swiss steak and mashed potatoes. That was my meal while I was growing up. I love the tomato sauce with the carrots and the onions in it, mushrooms over mashed potatoes with Swiss steak that's been cooked all day. That's just, really tender. But share your meal. And this is a lovely book. It's by Gabrielle Vezina, and she is Gabrielle Knits. So some of you may already follow her. And this has got, I thought there was a list. Let me look. Okay. In the table of contents, there is a sweater, a shawl, a hat, and socks in the first chapter. A cardigan, a scarf, a hat, and mittens in the second. A sweater, a tank top, a shawl, and socks in the third. A top, a shawl, a scrunchie, and socks in the fourth. And then there are some stitch tutorials at the end. So I would say that there are about 16 patterns in the book, a lot of information on lace knitting. Here's one of the photos. Isn't that glorious? I don't know who did the photography for this book, but it is really pretty. I'll show you a couple more. There's a pretty shawl. So none of it seemed to be like super intricate lace. It was all very pretty lace, but like it's not like lace weight for the whole thing and you're making lace weight tablecloths, right? They're just very pretty lace patterns. And I don't know why I'm just not drawn to lace. There's a lace beret. It's just not my favorite thing to knit. And I could hang on to this for the next 3 years and then maybe knit one thing, and I thought that's just a shame. I could just go buy the pattern that I like the best. Isn't that cute? That's really cute. That's the author. Let me tell you a bit about her. She's a knitwear designer behind Gabrielle Knits. Her cozy and elegant lace designs are enjoyed by knitters of all skill levels for their clear instructions and gratifying results. Gabrielle's patterns have been featured in various Knit Picks publications, Interweave Knits magazine, and Jane Austen Knits. She lives in Montreal, Canada with her partner and 2 children. Yeah, so quite a few pairs of socks are in here. And so if you're a lace sock knitter, yeah, I think it's really a beautiful book. I feel kind of bad saying that I don't want to keep it, but honestly, I have 100 books, and I don't knit out of them nearly. You guys know that. I don't knit enough just because I'm designing all the time. So it makes much more sense to just pass it on to someone who would really, really love it. So we're going to give that away. I have 4 audiobooks to share this week. I finished The Goldfinch. I would highly recommend. It is 32 hours long. It took a long time to listen to it. I did listen on 1.5 speed, but it is the story of a young man, and his life and what he gets involved in, and his terrible upbringing with parents, and then becoming part of an art swindle situation. I can see how reading it could have been a real slog, but I found the narrator to be excellent and did a really nice job. It kept my interest till the very end. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was quite good. And I thought the information about the painting and all that was really good too. Then I started a book called The End of Craving, Recovering the Lost Wisdom of Eating Well. Excellent. Really, really good. Talking about the history of eating and why we crave foods and how much sugar is in the things we have right now, and how when we eat something sweet, the craving is just so lustful. And then they took the book back at Libby. So I got 3/4 the way, maybe even further. So I've re-requested it to just finish up the end. But I would really recommend it. It's definitely a nonfiction book. He has a lot of data to back up the things that he's saying, but I did find it really fascinating. So if you are a person with lots of food cravings, it might be something that would be of interest to you. Then I read a book called If I Stay by Gail Foreman. This was an young adult novel, and it's like 4 hours long on Audible, and it is really interesting. It's about a young girl who is, I don't want to give too much away. Her family, something happens in their family, and she has to make like a decision. It's a lot about whether or not people in the hospital have choices about staying or going, deciding to leave and die, or to stay with their loved ones or go to heaven, or where they might go, or if you're outside of that kind of outside of body experience where you're looking down and you're seeing, it was really well done, really interesting. Something like I have not read before. And then I finished No Time Like the Future by Michael J. Fox. That is his most recent kind of autobiographical story. He read it. He did a wonderful job. He does have, like, his voice is a little wobbly, shaky, and but it was really good. He talked about his diagnosis with Parkinson's all those years ago, and living with his family and his kids, and how they have adjusted and what they've had to do. And he told stories, and I love a good biographical, story about a celebrity who I feel like I know, even though I don't know them. So that might be something that some of you are interested in. I have 2 little Cori stories for you today. I took a quick break there, and puppy fell asleep. And some dog little tiny treats and a couple of little toys arrived from Amazon, so he'll be excited to see those after. The breeder we went through gave us an entire bag of stuff. We got registered papers, puppies microchipped. They've already had their vet visit and shots, but then in addition, we got a blanket and a leash and a collar and a ball and a little fuzzy fox, and the bag was just like full. We got home and I bought a couple of things, but like I didn't know how big he was, so I couldn't buy a halter, and he's not loving the collar at all. He's at the collar. So now we're trying a little different collar on him to see. We're just trying it for 5 or 10 minutes at a time. He's not walkable yet because he is under your feet, like he's in between your legs and jumping at your knees, and so you're just so afraid you're gonna step on him. He's big. We haven't weighed him, but yeah, so he's not like walkable on leash. Like Stevie said, can we take him for a walk? And I was like, no, you can just take him in the backyard. He's not he got really rambunctious, so he got zoomies back there, and the kids were just laughing, and then he was biting some grass, and he went up in the snow with Kylie, and she kind of threw it at him, and he didn't like the snow at all last night. But then this afternoon with Kylie, he liked the snow a little bit. So yeah, so Ross is gonna take him out. I hope you heard that, because it's very high pitched and very, very loud. Like Cody was a hooner, like Cody could hooner, that was what we called it. Like howl, yowl, sing, very loud. This guy has him beat with pitch. Way louder. So, but he's eating his food well, so he just had, he had a third of the cup earlier, and so, yeah. Anyway, so now I'm back. This is gonna be so chopped up today, but whatever. So my husband and I went out to eat a week ago on a Friday night, and we go down to a Mexican restaurant in Shakopee, Minnesota, and they're often quite busy on the weekends. So we will often sit at the bar, and we don't really mind sitting at the bar. It's a long bar, and the bartender that works on the weekends is amazing. She's so good, so fast. She's throwing drinks out, so she's really fun to watch. I don't drink alcohol, but I really enjoy watching her make margaritas and daiquiris and pour beers, and she's just fun. She's talking to people. But every Friday night, there are 3 older gentlemen that sit at this bar. They're always there on a Friday night, and sometimes we go on Saturday, and they talk to everybody. And the one guy can't eat, so we're not really sure of his story, but I must have a feeding tube of some kind, because he cannot eat food, and we've heard him say that. But he drinks margarita, which is really interesting. And so we like sitting at the bar. And the state hockey tournament was on, and we had driven home from Sioux Falls that weekend. And we went in and decided, once we got home and got settled, Ross just said, let's just run down and grab. We can sit at the bar if they're busy, which they were. And so we're sitting back there, and of course they have a small TV behind the bar, because it's not a sports bar, but then they have a big TV on the wall. So everybody in the back room of this restaurant was kind of watching the hockey game. It was getting started. And so people were kind of talking at the bar, but Ross is a real introvert. I'll talk to anybody if they talk to me first, but I'm not the person that's going to sit at the bar and like try to have a conversation with someone and like try to strike up a conversation. Like I'll just talk to Ross. Sometimes often when we go out to eat on the weekends, we do the Wordle together. So we're sitting there, and then these people next to us seemed to be engaged in the game a little bit. So I turned and said something like, are you rooting for someone? And he said, well, no one ever wants Edina to win. And that is an old school joke. Edina is a first tier wealthy suburb in the Twin Cities. And my husband had said the exact same thing on the way home in the car. We'd gotten halfway. We'd stopped at McDonald's to go to the bathroom and to get a Diet Coke treat. And so we went in, and on the screen in the McDonald's was the afternoon hockey game. And it was tied up 5-5, and they were in their second overtime. And I said to Ross, oh my gosh, we have to watch this. It's second overtime. There's like 9 minutes left. And he's like, you're right. So we stood in there and watched that game. And so then we got in the car, and I said, who's playing tonight? And he said, and we don't watch hockey. Like, we're not big into hockey. I love football, but I don't know enough about hockey. I struggle with understanding offsides and stuff in hockey. Like, I grew up in South Dakota where we didn't have hockey. They have hockey now, but we didn't have hockey in our school, so I didn't grow up with it. Anyway, so we're watching the game, and Ross had said, well, no one will want Edina to win. And so I started laughing at this guy, and I said, oh my gosh, that's hilarious. And he said something back to me, and then the next thing I knew, I was sitting next to his wife, and she said something like, well, we're from Eden Prairie. And I said, oh my gosh, we go to church in Eden Prairie, which is not something I would normally say to just anybody. Like I wouldn't just, it's usually not something I lead with, right? And she's like, St. Andrew Lutheran? And I was like, yes. And she's like, we go there too. And I'm like, oh my gosh. We've been going there since back when it was in Dell Road, and then at the city center, and then we moved away and came back. And she goes, so have we, which is not uncommon because we go to a giant Lutheran church. It has grown and grown and grown over the years. And this is like and we went to their satellite churches out closer to us for many years. And then it closed, and so then we went back into the big church. But like Kylie was baptized there when she was, you know, born, so we've been members. And so to not have ever met these people, so then we get to talking, and come to find out, they're the nicest people. He's into fishing, he's into cars. Ross and he start talking about fishing. Have you ever been to Canada? They have a place in Arizona in the winter. You know, the Bear Jackson car auction. She wants to learn how to knit. Like it was like this. Like, we're sitting talking to these people, and normally we leave. We're in and out of there in half an hour, right? And he said, I just love supporting this small family business. I run a family business here in Shakopee. I have a warehouse all over. I started this business when we first got married. We lived in Richfield, and he's like, I didn't know that this restaurant was here. Now we come down here all the time. And she's like, yeah, we were here last night. He goes, we were. And she's like, yeah, remember we came down and had a margarita early. They were just lovely people. And so then Ross ended up getting up and going down and talking to this guy for a while. And they talked about, you know, catching fish in Canada, you know, on the border up north, and where Ross and my dad had gone. And they have a lake place near where we go up to the lake. We don't have a place, but anyway, they have a lot of money, I think, because they have a place in Arizona and a place up north. But they were lovely. Then he tried to buy our supper, and Ross had already given her our gift card, because we got one of those $100 gift cards at Christmas time where you get 25 free. And so then the waitress, the bartender, was trying to take our credit card back, and Ross is like, no, what are you doing? And it was, anyway, we had the loveliest time. It was just so, like, you never know, right? Like, people who have probably been connected, but come to find out, they are totally into hockey, really into hockey. Their daughter played the U of M. Their son played at Eden Prairie and got drafted and now plays in the NHL. Is that not crazy? He plays for the Philadelphia Flyers. So they follow him. They go to a ton of his games. I mean, I said, so you've spent your whole lives in hockey. And then they like dogs. And I'm like, well, you are our people. That's what we were telling them. We're getting a new puppy. I mean, we just, like, we shared. I overshared. Does that surprise any of you? Of course I did. Yeah, of course I did. I chattered and chattered. And they were drinking. Not me. I was just chattering. It was just lovely. Lovely to meet them. And then I was thinking about last time when I talked about watching a survivalist show. I was like, why do you like to watch? Like, I don't want to go in the wilderness. I don't want to camp. Why are you into this? I don't even want an RV, right? Why do you like watching these survival shows? And I started thinking about it. And for those of you that, there's a couple of you that watch from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, it's because of the K Cinema Theater in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, that was over off of South Minnesota Avenue. It's not there anymore. And my father worked, we've talked about this, he's a pharmacist. He worked Monday through Saturday and Sunday mornings. So Sunday afternoons, we would go to the movie theater and go for pizza. That was our family thing. And the theater shows were the Wilderness Adventure Family, the dogs going over the mountaintops. I wrote some of them down. Across the Great Divide, The Bears and I, Robinson Crusoe, all of those, like, people surviving and getting over the mountains or setting up cabins in the woods that you went to, those family adventure shows that we would go to every Sunday afternoon, that would show on Sunday afternoon. And then we would go out to pizza. And the thing I remember about the pizza place we would go to would be in downtown Sioux Falls. I don't remember the name of it. Mom and Dad will. They cut their pizza in squares. And for us, that was like revolutionary. We had never had pizza that had been cut into squares instead of slices when we were little. And so we always went for that. And I think that maybe that's kind of that success, you know, over nature and, you know, succeeding, you know, the K Cinema Theater. So when I call my folks tonight, I'm going to mention that and talk to them about that, those memories that Dad would get off work at 1 o'clock on Sunday after having worked the whole week. And all he probably wanted to do was go home and sleep. And we would pack up the kids at 4 o'clock and we would go to the afternoon theater. Oh man, incredible. Yeah, good memories. I decided to add a little quote of the week. You guys know I'm kind of big on quotes, but I've had a couple quotes floating around in my life, and I shared that one with you guys, which was, is it food or is it entertainment? Which isn't really a quote, but it's like a motto, right? Like, how are you thinking about the things you eat? And this week, here's your quote that I saw. If we all put our problems in a circle and we had to choose one from the circle, we would probably look at all the problems and take our own problem back. Wow, right? Wow. We have a couple people in our lives right now. One is a friend of Kylie's who's going through a brain tumor situation, and one who is a friend of ours who has got cancer. And, you know, I have a lot of problems physically, but I wouldn't take those, right? Just really made me stop for a moment. So I thought maybe it would make you stop and think for just a moment. Okay, I'll be back shortly with the giveaways. Okay, I'm back. It is now Monday, so about 12 hours have passed. 12 long hours. We have been to the vet for our very first vet appointment. We got a shot and we got a clean bill of health. My eyes are good. My testicles have both descended. My hips are good. My jaw is not an underbite or an overbite. What else is he saying today? He came home and said, oh, and I weigh 12 pounds. We thought he weighed 8, and so we are not feeding him enough. And we were just guessing, and we just hadn't had a moment to step on the scale and see what he weighed. And so we need to up his food, which is fine. I mean, he's bigger today than he was yesterday. Like I swear he's gaining a pound a day. He's just bigger and bigger. So you just got to keep up with that feeding. Yeah, so we brought home some medicine for deworming and I don't know, tick and flea and heartworm. My mind is just, it was a bag of stuff. She clipped his nails, which is lovely because his nails were sharp and long. So she got that done too. So, and when we walked in, he laid down and wanted to go to sleep because we had zoomies in the backyard before we left. We are figuring out that we have a large backyard and that we can zoom off. He's very fast. But if Mama runs, then I'm gonna bite her calves and draw blood through her jeans because I'm gonna hang on. Oh, little stinker, he jumped up and got my jeans, and he was, little teeth, they're so sharp they got hooked and he wasn't letting go. I'm gonna do the giveaways, all right? So for the sock cowl, I'm closing the thread as soon as I do these giveaways. I did the drawings. I forgot to close the thread, but I don't want to go back in there right now. So it's late in the afternoon on Monday, getting closer to supper time. And I just want to give the prizes away for all the people that participated in the sock cowl. I cannot thank you enough. So prize number 1 is a bag that was made by Sandy. And it goes to number 12, and that's Kaja Knits 2. That's Karina from Chester County, PA. So that was drawing number 2. She made a pair of IROCKNITTERS socks. And then the second bag that is like that goes to drawing number 45, and that's Polly 81. So Polly, you're getting this bag with the rocks on it and the rocking chairs. And then they say I rock knits, which I think is kind of fun because you all rock knits, right? Not just me. But she's got the rock fabric and then the rocking chairs, which I just think is so cute. The big tote bag goes to number 2, Margie Bork from Bay City, Michigan. So you're getting the bigger tote bag with the handles, and this also has a pocket on the inside with a zipper. I mean, these bags are so lovely. So the 3 of you should thank Sandy for making up those bags. I have one more bag here, and this one is going out to, this is from Little Skein and the Big Wool, and this is number 54, and that is WAKH25, and that's Wendy in Gillette, Wyoming. So you're getting this cute sweater bag. It is just kind of a muslin with orange on the inside, so every time you open it, it'll remind you of me.
Okay, and then we've got some yarn to give away. So this little set of mini skeins, a ton of little mini skeins, is going to number 52, and that's Allie Knits and Knots from Long Island, New York. And you are also getting the last of the pink little cases for knitting needles, interchangeable needles, circular needles, or for pens and markers, anything that you want to use it for. So that's number 52, Allie Knits and Knots. Then I don't know about this because this is going to Suzanne, and she's going to say, Cori, I don't need to win a prize. But Suzanne is my friend that I met who's from Indiana, and she has been helping in my Ravelry groups. And I would love to send this to her, but she's gonna say I shouldn't win a prize. But I legitimately drew number 51, and so she's getting 3 skeins of Nature Spun DK. This is a lovely yarn, purple, pink, and green. And so that's going to Suzanne Selby. And then this package is shepherd's wool. If you've never worked with shepherd's wool, I highly recommend it. It is a lovely worsted weight. There's a purple, a red, and a maroon in this bag. 3 skeins of worsted weight yarn. And this is going to Knitting Grammy. And that's Jane from Arizona and Colorado. And she was number 33. I have 2 more drawings to do. I drew for Instagram. For the hashtag, I have a set of the knit extension cords. I have some needle point protectors, but also hold your knitting on your needle. You're going to get one of the Keep Calm and Waddle On stickers, as well as this little measuring tape keychain that you could hook on a knitting bag or a project bag, but you could also use it for your keys, and you can open it up or not. So that is going to Honor Crowned. And I think you use the hashtag more than anyone else, and so it makes sense to me, Stephanie, that you are winning this because you were about every second post on Instagram. You did a ton of sock knitting and a lot of posting, which I loved. So this is going out to Stephanie, Honor Crowned. And then the grand prize is the giant bag of fingering weight yarn. So you get a green skein, 2 speckled skeins, and 2 blue skeins. This is a huge prize. And that is going to number 53, Alchemy, and that is Diane in Minneapolis. So maybe, Diane, we should meet up and I can hand this off to you. You all, please send me an email to Cori at IROCKKNITTERS.com. You can send me an email, a message on Instagram or on Ravelry. I'm IROCKKNITTERS, both places. If that works for you, I need your first and last names and your address so that I can ship out all these prizes to you. I really want to thank everyone for participating in the knit along. It's just absolutely lovely. I'm just thrilled about the participation we had. And Paula, you get a big prize for thinking of it, for having the idea to knit a bunch of IROCKKNITTERS designs, sock patterns. So thank you. Mwah, 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 mwah. I am back one more time with, and now it's dark. I forgot to draw for last week's podcast comment winner. And that was from podcast 117, where you told me about whether or not you had animals. And the winner is number 68 comment, and that is Noreen Lou, Noreenlou. So Noreen, get in touch because you have a package here ready to go with your name on it from last week's podcast. And there's that skein of yarn and the keychain. So Noreen, get in touch. Okay, I'm back, and I have a little quick heads up for all of you. Whoops, I bumped my camera there. Our furnace is out. So on top of everything else, we have not had a working furnace for over a week. It is intermittent, so it heats, and then it heats too much, and then it doesn't. So we had a guy out, and he checked it, and there was a wire, some type of wire, and he kind of got it working again intermittently. But then my husband had another guy come out to give a bid because we need a new furnace. So the first guy says they last about 12 years, which is ridiculous. And ours is about going to be 18. So, you know, we made it well past, but we have a Bryant brand. And the second guy that came out said that our Bryant was in a class action lawsuit on this furnace. So he's calling another guy to come out and look at our furnace because we'll get a $900 rebate. Oh, we're so excited. That's going to be great. It doesn't even put a dent in the new furnace and air conditioner unit that we need for this 2-story house. The basement's not a walkout, but it's a lookout, and we have that radiant heat in the basement. So, and it's not finished. I've talked about that before. The house is huge, and we don't need the basement because we only ever had one kid. You know, by the time we moved in here, she was 8, and we never had any more. We could have filled some bedrooms, but you know, fertility baby, you've all heard that story. Anyway, so yeah, so we've been dating, and I came home one day and it was like 78 in here, and you know, it's winter, but the sun, we have sun along the whole windows, along the whole back of our house, and the sun was pounding in, and I walked in, it was like a sauna, and I was like, oh my Lord. And so I turned it down. We've been opening windows. It's just been crazy. Yesterday when I was recording, I had the window here open. It was blowing a breeze. It was lovely. So you might have heard birds chirping, but the furnace thing is just one more thing, and thousands of dollars. I said to my husband, people have worse things going on in their lives. We can, you know, we can afford to get a new furnace. It's not as if, you know, we have to say, how are we going to eat? Are we going to have, you know, put it on payments or have ramen? I don't know. So yeah, we have money put away for expenses. As my husband said, we're going to do all the things before I retire. Everything we want to do to this house, we're going to do it before we retire, because he turned 62 in November. Sorry, my hair is driving me crazy today because I barely got a shower before I went to the vet. I almost went to the vet in my pajamas. I was sweating because we were playing hard and we were running in the backyard, and in my pajamas, yes, and my hard-soled slippers, yes. And then, so I did get a shower. I boxed off the corner of the bathroom and put him in there, and he jumped up on top of the box. He's a jumper, and he's almost jumped out of the playpen. So I did get a shower. So I threw my jeans on, and I was going out the back door, and I had my Birkenstock slippers on. Everyone would understand, right? Like, I looked down and I was like, oh, you can't wear these. I'm not going all the way to the bedroom for my tennis shoes. I'm like, I'll just put on my boots. So I reached in the garage and grabbed my snow boots. It's lucky that I'm even. And so I did not fuss with my hair, and it's sticking to my forehead, so it's driving me crazy. Anyway, it doesn't matter, Cori, it doesn't matter. You're just tired. We were up at 2:30, 4:30, and 6:30 last night. And not because he cried so much, but we just want to take him out. We just want to make sure that we were giving him ample opportunity to go potty, and we were checking on him. And so yeah. And then Ross woke me at 7:30 and said, hey, I got to go to work, got to get ready for work. He's upstairs today. And I said, okay, so I'm on. So I sat on the mudroom floor and edited yesterday's part of the video for about 45 minutes, and that worked fine. But then we wanted to play, and then we could go out every 45 minutes, and we're liking outside more and more. So, okay, I think I have one more thing to tell you, but I can't remember what it is. I remembered what it was. I went in the bathroom to grab it, and the barrier is still up in the bathroom, and the rugs are thrown up over the bathtub, and the garbage can is sitting up on the counter, and my pajamas are in the sink. This house looks like it has been hit by a puppy. I was just like laughing. Okay, I got a new ring, and I haven't had a chance to even put it on today. So this is my new ring. It is knitting themed, knit stitches. It's silver, and I'm wearing it as a thumb ring. Are you seeing that well? There. You can order it in any size, custom order it. I was supposed to get a ring like this for Christmas. I saw one similar, a man's ring, at a jewelry store at the mall as I was walking by, and I went in and they said, oh yeah, you know, we can get it for you, and they couldn't get it in a small enough size. And so, I don't know, it was like January before we heard that they couldn't get it. And so I've been kind of, you know, Ross didn't have that gift for me, and he wanted to get it to me, so This is from Birdie Parker Designs, and it is called the Stockinette Stitch Ring. And Birdie Parker has all kinds of, I have earrings by them. So it's Birdie Parker, BP. You can follow them on Instagram to see all their beautiful things. They have necklaces with knit stitches, earrings, rings, all kinds of lovely things. And so I got a little cleaning cloth, and then I got a little stitch marker that says Birdie Parker on it, and a little tin to keep stitch markers in. And the stitch marker is really pretty. It's kind of that rose gold, and it says BP on the inside, so that's kind of cute. So yeah, I wanted to share with you that I got my Christmas present. I said to Ross, oh, I want to order this. So I used to wear a thumb ring, a Black Hills Gold. If you're from the area, Midwest of the United States, you know what Black Hills Gold looks like. But I used to wear it on my thumb all the time, but it had a black, kind of a black etched background, and then the pink and green leaves around it, and the black etching had started to come off, so I stopped wearing it, which is kind of ridiculous because, you know, but I always wanted to put a ring back on my thumb. I don't even have my rings on today. My earrings, this is gonna be for the next couple weeks. I think we're gonna get by. I can smell Swiss steak. I spent about a half an hour getting my favorite meal ready because we're sharing our favorite meals this week here on the podcast. And so I got my favorite meal ready, and I can smell it, and Ross is gonna take over any minute. I hope any minute. I think that's all I have for you guys this week. I'm gonna get this edited. If it doesn't get up until Tuesday, I apologize. I'm doing the best I can. It's gonna be a lot of puppy talk. If you are not, so many of you have animals. That was last time's question. Oh my gosh, so many of you. And some of you have multiple animals. There's a few of you that are not pet people, and that's fine. I was never a pet person until my daughter got Yankee, our first chocolate Labradoodle, and he became mine. He just glommed onto me, loved me like nothing I'd ever seen before. And then he had to be put down, whole long story, when he was 4. And then the breeder gave us Cody, and then Cody, you know, dog park, and he was just my best bud. So but I was never a dog person growing up. I never wanted a dog, you know, until we got the horse. Then Kylie wanted a dog, and yeah. So I'm going to put in some video of the little guy for all of you here at the end that want to tolerate my new mom syndrome, right? Just like all mothers and fathers should love their children the very best and love them hard and be proud of them and what they do. And, you know, parents should love. So should pet parents, right? I was so proud of him at the vet today. He went in and just laid down. She's like, oh, he's so cute. I'm like, thank you. Like I had anything to do with that at all. Oh my gosh. No, I didn't. I just picked him out. And he's so soft. Thank you. All right. Until next time, keep it colorful. Bye. Love you all. Oh my goodness, I forgot. Come in for your hug. Some of you just need to have your hug, right? Come in for your hug. I'm going to have Swiss steak for supper. Mashed potatoes. Bye.